Shall we begin?
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the More Than Just Keto podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ashley.
Hey, everybody. I am your other host, Molly. So, I have been doing this whole lose weight, get healthy, get fit for a while. And do you know, I have still not reached my goal weight.
Same.
I mean, goal weight. Where do we get our goal weight? Where did you get your goal weight?
That's a good question. You know, I think it's based on previous time, back then, an uneducated BMI calculator. Like when I mean uneducated, like I was not educated on really what that BMI calculator was, how it was created, what it's really measuring. And I think that was where I started, was probably that. And thinking back to like when I was a teenager, when I thought that I looked good, like looking back at pictures and like, oh, that's the weight. And I remembered about where I was in that weight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which if you're hearing this, you're like, oh, okay. But there's a lot of flaw in that because I was a teenager. So
yeah, hit the keyword teenager.
Yeah, I don't know
young.
why we do that, but we often reach far in our past for
so far.
something that we want. But you know what's crazy is I remember being a teenager and not liking that weight.
I know. It's so weird. It's, you know what? It's so relatable though, because you hear this a lot because like they had this little thing going around where it said, what was it? It was, show a picture of you when you thought you were fat. And you're like, don't you wish you could be that fat again? Because you clearly were not. So same thing here. Like I was really small as a teenager. And so as I got older, had babies, gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, in my mind, I always looked back to when I wanted to get back 18 or 19 years old.
Yes.
And that is crazy, but we do that.
And right now, looking back, we're probably both having the same thought where it's like, what were we thinking, basing a goal off of like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, wherever in time you are looking back as a teenager or whatever on that weight. And it's like, what made you think that that was applicable now? And because now that I know what I know and I've done what I've done, I realize that yes, I could possibly get back to that weight. But I realized for me, in order to get to that weight from where I am now is still a good 20, 30 pounds. And I don't know now if I would really be comfortable at that weight, if that makes sense. So this is all super relative, right? To like like how you feel in your body. Mostly what this episode is about is like connecting with yourself. Are the goals that you have now realistic and possible for the body and the time and the age that you are? Because like all these factors play into how we should really be looking at what our goal weights might be.
Right. I did the same though. Like I came up with this magic number, but the thing is I was this magic number when I met my husband 14 years ago. So I was in my 30s. When I think of that number now, I just can't imagine me at the number. So when I was a teenager, I was tiny, like 110. Like I was little. I'm only 5'3.5". I was tiny. I was like, it was very
I was
thin.
like 150, 160 and like 7.
Yeah, you're taller. 5'3.5". I'm a shorty. Okay. But when I met my husband, I was 145. Now, here's where the kicker is. And I think this is one of the biggest issues and biggest problems I have. I can't speak for other people, but for me, I know that I have this trouble. I look at the flippin' Renpho scale thing that tells me you're obese.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and that's based on the BMI. That's based on
right. They're just doing numbers.
That chart.
They're not calculating how much bone, fat, muscle, waste, water, like all of that is. And I know it's a smart scale, but if you do the research. It's just like these little smart watches. They're not 100% accurate. And so
No.
if we're basing what we're supposed to be, when we look at that as our answer, I don't know if I'll ever reach what they think I should be.
Should be.
And if I
Mhm.
keep chasing that, I'm going to drive myself crazy, because here's the question I ask myself. What if you never get there, Molly? Are you going to keep trying to do this for the rest of your life? Or are you
just going to quit?
Are you just going to stop because you didn't get there and then you're just not going to take care of yourself? Like, no and
No.
no. So I got to figure out, it's not going to be about a goal weight. I had to come to that place, and I'm not going to sit
Yes.
here and act like I don't struggle sometimes, because I still do.
We all struggle.
Yes, I still will get a picture side by side and look at myself, and I'll see myself at 165, and then I'll see myself at 170. And I'm like, I don't look that different. I'm not bigger, even though I'm 5 pounds more or 10 pounds more. But we can really get tricked in our heads,
Yeah.
and that's why all the time, both of us say this: take pictures, take pictures, take pictures. Don't just look at the scale.
Yeah.
Look at the clothes, fix your, fit into your clothes, try on outfits. Like, how do you feel? Like, there's so many reasons. And that, of course, we've talked about till we're blue in the face.
Yes, for sure.
But specifically this time, we're talking about never reaching your goal weight. What if you never reach your goal weight, is what this episode is about.
And
Goal
I think
weight.
that goes to, how are you getting that goal weight?
That's
What
important.
are you using to determine what that is? Because for me, what I had in my mind was, a certain number from a long time ago, and I hadn't had children, and I hadn't had, 20 years of life on me,
Right.
back then. So I realized for myself that my goals are also different. I was very thin, just very thin. I don't actually want to just be thin now. And this
Right.
has changed as my journey has evolved. The idea that I had for myself has changed. And I think that's really
Mhm.
important to point out, because when I started, I will admit, and I've said this before here, I just wanted to be thin.
Yeah.
Because once again, referencing this old identity that I had when I thought I looked like I should look now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I wanted to be thin, and I'm like, I want to be that weight again of a teenager. And
You were
then,
in the Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears
of
days.
course, the 90s and the
That
2000s
was
where
like the
everyone was
2000. I
super
know
thin.
mine was the mine in my age, it was the Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox friends. They started getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah,
They didn't start out that way, but they kept
right.
getting thinner. And then Ally McBeal, like all this
Yeah,
television, whatever at the time was the influence. So that in your head, you wanted to be
for
skinny
sure.
like
And
them.
all my
Same.
idols were super, super thin. So I
Yeah.
thought, and it's weird how that carries over. Like, I don't find that attractive now, but for some reason, my brain is still like, you need to try to get there.
Yeah. Isn't that
Not so much
crazy?
now, but when I started
But
my
when you,
journey
yeah.
2.5 years ago, almost
Mhm.
3 years ago, I had that very simplistic, like, I just need to get back there. I just need to get back there. People say a phrase like, stop living in your past, like live in the current, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go after things for you now. Create
Mhm.
the vision that you want for the person you are right now, not who you were, not who you think you're going to be, but who you are. That real conversation with yourself of like, okay, I've been through X, Y, and Z. I've had surgeries. I have scars. I have stretch marks. I have what is really reasonable. And at first, you may not be able to come up with that, because you'll be maybe like where I'm at or was when I thought, okay, I wanted to be, this version of myself.
Yeah.
And what happened over time as I started losing weight and started realizing what was under there, is that I created new, ideas of who I want to be. That old idea of wanting to be super thin,
Mhm.
and that was like a waif era, like, of
Yes.
90s
Yes.
and
Oh, yeah.
2000s,
But come and
right?
go, come and go, come and go. Yeah.
I have totally abandoned that. It is so weird, but I absolutely don't want to look anything like that now. And
Yeah.
that is really coming from working on myself, but also realizing that building strength makes me feel strong. And that is what I want, is I want to feel strong, but I also now want to I desire to look strong. So
Mhm.
my idea and image of my mind of like, oh, I don't want to be muscly, or, all these labels that we create of, I don't want to I don't want to look too athletic or whatever. I've dropped all of that. And I'm like, I just want to see what is capable with this body and what it
Yeah.
looks like when I take care of it the best way that I can.
Yeah. And then you'll have the best body for Ashley.
For me, not for an idea of myself, not for a
Right.
past version of myself. I'm not in the past anymore.
Right.
I am here now. So I have to create what I want, what I'm comfortable with the person I am, because I'm different too.
Right. Right. No, I totally get this because, and I've talked about this plenty of times. I'll be 50 next year. The body I had in my early 20s and my late teens, and even the body I had in my 30s, is not the body I have in my late 40s, almost 50 years old. It's a lot of acceptance.
Yeah,
And a lot of just embracing who you are. And I
for
think when you
sure.
can get to a place where, like I said just now about yours, I want to have the best body for Molly, the one that I want to create, the strong, the fit, but not this picture that I used to carry in my head for so long. Like you, I had the real thin girl ideal in my head. And
Yeah.
then I had this real athletic girl ideal in my head. Um, and now I still would like you, I want to be strong. I
Yeah.
like this is, I got to share this. I was sitting there with my teenager was there, and I don't know what I was doing, but somehow I was holding up here and he was talking to me, whatever. And he goes, dang, that bicep. Like he noticed my bicep. I was like,
I love
yeah,
that.
dude, I have been working, and it does make you feel strong. Now, there are some women
Yeah,
that have no desire whatsoever to have a
for
muscle. And there's
sure.
nothing wrong with that. And there's some women that want to be really big.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's whatever you want to be,
Right. Living for the person that you are
the
today
person you
and
are, right?
the vision of yourself you want to be.
But here's what we have to come to grips with. This is where we have to get to. That body doesn't have a number, because if
Exactly.
a person weighing 170 pounds, standing even at 5'4", who doesn't lift weights and only eats in a major calorie deficit.
Yeah.
I say major because you see a lot of that big calorie
Mhm.
deficit. They are going to look different than someone who lifts weights, eats plenty of protein, and is got a lot of muscle. They
Yeah.
might both weigh 170 pounds, but
Yeah.
this
But the
one
way
looks
the
different
fat
than
is
this one.
taking up in the body versus the
It's
muscle is
so
going to
different.
look very different.
It goes back to that whole and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I know I've plenty of times had to explain it to people. Muscle does not weigh more than fat. Muscle does not weigh more than fat. 5 pounds of muscle weighs the same as 5 pounds of fat, but muscle takes up less
Less
space than
space.
fat.
Yeah.
And that's so important to remember. And I think we
Oh,
quite
that's
often
where,
compare ourselves, and that's where we mess up, because we are comparing our body to another body, thinking, well, I've seen people tell someone they didn't weigh what they said they weighed. The audacity. Who
that's
does
crazy.
that? Why would people do that? I don't understand. They just think they know, but a lot of people open their mouth and show just how uneducated they are on social media. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
What are you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, and to the point prior of taking the pictures, that's an exact reason why you'd want to do that. If you are gaining muscle, your scale may not move, but you are going to notice that you may be decreasing in pant size. You may be looking in the mirror and you're like, wow, well, that wasn't there. Or, that's gone.
Yeah.
And if you are just paying attention to your scale and the number that you created,
You're going to be
and you're actually
sad.
seeing success, but you don't realize it because you're stuck on the scale,
Yeah.
you may actually stop when you're right where you need to be because
Yeah.
you have it in your mind that that number is the only thing that matters. And we've done the episode on the scale on how you can't let that rule you.
You
Well, it's
cannot.
same. The scale and weighing every day coincides with the ideal number that you think you're trying to get to. And if you put all your eggs in that basket, what happens if you come up short? What happens when that, for me, I have loose skin, I have all kinds of things. And I'm just like everybody else. I stand in the mirror and I grab this and I grab that. I'm like, man, if I didn't have that there, that'd be like 5 pounds. If I
It's
didn't
true
have
that
this
with
over
skin
here.
weighs too. I didn't think about that.
So
Whenever you've lost a large amount of weight, you're going to have the skin that's also going to be part of that number on the scale.
of course. And also when I eat carbs, they swell and I have room for that water weight to go onto that body because I have extra skin that's there. So it's easy for me to fluctuate when I eat carbs or when I go off. Like there are so many things. And if you just get it in your head, like I'm not successful unless I see X, Y, and Z on the scale, that's never,
Oh
ever
gosh,
going to be
it's
the only reason
a
that
horrible cycle.
it, it's going to be the reason that you come off of this and keep yo-yoing versus staying on the path and saying, you know what, let's find out. Let's find out what my goal weight is. Let's find out through trial, error,
Yeah.
experience, and education what's right for my body. That's not a conversation that we have. It's never a conversation that I had with
No.
myself when I started my journey. That car manager said, "What do you want to weigh?" And I typed a number in
Yeah.
and I was like, "How do we get there?
And it
Let's
never
get this going."
worked.
And if I would have been too hung up on it, I'd have given up by now.
Yeah, me too, girl. Me too. I've weighed the same thing now since December. The same. I am the same 170.
And
Sometimes
there is
169 point,
nothing
sometimes
wrong with that.
170 point. It's the weirdest thing to me because I feel like I'm in a calorie. I know I'm not feeling. I'm in a calorie deficit.
You're tracking,
I track. I weigh my food. I weigh my body. This is important. When we get these little apps that say, because Fitness Pal does it, Carb Manager does it, and other ones do. They say, if you eat this amount of calories,
you'll
be this by this date. And I never have been. And I'm like, okay. And then some might say, yeah, but did you really? Look, I did. Okay. I know I did.
by gram.
But it still did.
Yeah.
Right. But it still didn't happen. And I had to let go of that idea that was my goal to do what this says. And I know plenty of people do that. Why would they have that on the app if it wasn't true? Or if it wasn't something that people needed to use? So
For
calculations, they say, oh, it's science, calculations, eat this amount. And
it doesn't account for hormones. It doesn't account for
not
age,
accounting.
really. It doesn't
Right?
account for pre-existing conditions. It doesn't account for physical limitations. It doesn't count for, I mean, it does for like,
it's just, they do the
activity level,
thing, but it's so generic. It's not specific.
It doesn't account for diseases. It doesn't account for all the things that can get in the way. So that's why it's tricky. We love that app. We recommend it 1,000 times over. But there has to be, just like you get up in the morning and you decide you're going to get on that scale, you have got to have a disconnection there of it letting that number rule you. You cannot function that way. You will yo-yo. You will do what we see all the time, which is it's only month 2 and I've only lost X amount of pounds because you're thinking about, I need to get down to 1 whatever, and it's not happening fast enough. Yeah. And it's because we get so fixated on the number that we're trying to get to in the certain amount of time. It's literally the perfect nightmare, right? The perfect storm for giving up, quitting, which I always say, like, we look for reasons to quit. We do. It's human nature. Oh, that was hard. I tried it. Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
We look for that sometimes, even if we don't think we do. When things are hard, it's nature to want to be comforted. It's hard to feel uncomfortable. So that is super important to recognize that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You've got to account for that from the beginning.
Yeah. And I don't think this is a topic that we can talk too much about because
I don't think so.
I'm not judging anyone, I promise, because I've been there, but I see people in our community and they talk about the ounces they lost, the pound they lost, the 2 they lost, the 1 they gained. I think, why are you torturing yourself with that? Like, your body is going to fluctuate. And yes, you're down 10 pounds this month. You didn't eat any carbs and you barely ate food. What do you think is going to happen? But what are you going to do next month and the month after and the month after?
Right. Is it sustainable?
Is it sustainable? Is this something? I mean, and why do you need to do this so quickly? And why? You will never, ever gain a lifestyle if you are continually dieting like that, because that is dieting. That is dieting.
And we've had the episode of diet versus lifestyle.
And it's the
Here's
wrong
what I
motivation.
tell people all the time. I see a lot of like, oh, I'm going to do this and that. And there's nothing wrong with using tools to break plateaus, to do something different, shake things up. It's really great to treat your metabolism differently over time. It's very smart to do that because you want to keep your body guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of my things is, if you are going to cut something out, my thing is like, I'm not cutting out something that I know I can't permanently remove. So I could permanently remove carbs and sugar for the most part, right? Like obviously we can't remove every ounce, but I don't eat regular bread anymore, right? I don't eat, and if there's a special occasion, this is not what I'm saying. A part of my
like
style is not eating sugar and bread, right?
Right.
I can sustain that. For me, and this is just one example, cutting out dairy, I could never do that long term. So I'm not even going to attempt to do it for a month, because here's the honest truth. I can do it for a month. Will I get results? Yes. But then I'm going back to eating dairy. So then I'm going to undo those results.
Yeah.
Right. If I can't do it for long term, I have to find a way to make it work. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't make choices here and there, be like, okay, I could make some adjustments here to lower certain things that I just don't really need. But overall, I would not cut that out because it satisfies me and it keeps me on track. So I know that if I cut that out, I am doing what I was doing prior to keto, which is dieting, because I'm doing things I don't want to do to get results that I don't need to get, that are not sustainable, that I will stop doing. So if I'm going to lose weight for a month and gain it back, what am I doing?
What is the point?
What is the point of that?
Right.
If you are detoxing, like I said, if this is a tool, that's not what I'm talking about. If you're using it as like, hey, I need a reset. Hey, my metabolism is sluggish. Hey, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about eliminating things, maybe trying to eliminate long-term, but knowing that that's really not sustainable for you because you love it or it adds to your lifestyle.
What you say there is interesting to me, because they say that about keto. They say it's not sustainable.
Of course.
They say it's not sustainable.
Right.
And I laugh at that because I think to myself, it's funny to me. I don't think it's sustainable to go without cheese.
I don't think it's American or French or no,
English.
I don't think it's,
cheddar was born in English.
I don't think
England.
It's human not to want cheese.
There are people that don't like cheese. I know it's hard to believe that.
I know.
There's
My
people that don't like
one of them who
chocolate.
likes, yes, actually.
There's people that don't like bacon. Sinful.
That is just.
I saw a bio and they said, I love bacon because I'm normal.
Yeah, because I'm human. I don't know anybody that doesn't like bacon, actually, but I do know somebody that doesn't like chocolate. My mom doesn't really like regular chocolate. She likes milk chocolate. I mean, white chocolate. My husband does not he would never eat a piece of cheese he would never. He'll eat cheese melted on something, but he also has lactose intolerance, so he has to be careful with it. But no, hard cheese, just out of the fridge, never.
But the sharp cheddar cheese does not have lactose. He can have that.
I know.
That's the only kind I can really have, because or in a big portion. I could eat a whole block.
Yeah.
Give me a whole block. I could do it. I'm fine.
Oh yeah. You could actually I could open my mouth and you could just shred it in there.
Yes.
And that would be every morsel. I'd just grating over me. I'd be fine. Just fill my casket with cheese.
It's true. But
I love
you know
it.
what I'm saying? But it is funny because people, I can live without bread. I eat low carb bread.
It doesn't, yeah.
But I mean, I don't have to have it.
It's sustainable for me to knock that out, because
but I cannot knock out cheese. Right.
And I'm not big. The biggest reason is because when I do eat those things, I don't feel good. So if you're a person who, obviously this is not about you, if you're a person who cuts out dairy because it makes you feel miserable,
totally different.
That is sustainable,
right?
Because it's affecting how you feel.
Yes,
which is,
and that's more
why
important.
it's so important. Once again, check in with yourself. Where are you? Who are you now? How are you creating these goals? What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? We're
all different.
You could be lactose intolerant now, but you weren't when you were 100 and whatever pounds that you're trying to get to. What has changed over time? How are we collecting this data? How are we making these educated decisions on our weight? Most of the time,
we're pulling them out of our butt, Ashley.
We are. Would you say the BMI is
BS. It's BS. The
I love it.
BMI is BS. It really is. And it's just like the food pyramid. Let's just be honest. It's probably
It's
the
the
same
same
people that
thing.
created both of them.
Yeah, it's
Seriously,
maddening. It's maddening.
it is. It is. And I've looked this stuff up before. It is. And we all just believe this one scientist or doctor or whoever it
Or
was that
mathematician,
decided,
because I
or
think that's who
mathematician, and we're like,
created.
oh,
Yeah.
this is it. Let's
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
maddening. And I think it's like you said, you have to make an educated choice, decision, whatever. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to pay attention to
Check
yourself.
in. Check into yourself.
Yourself. Figure it
Evaluate where
out.
you are right now.
Yes.
You know, take self inventory, right? We talked about that a lot last season. Self inventory, self reflection. Where am I? What am I capable of? What is sustainable? Am I really going to do that? Am I really going to do that?
Right.
Is that
right.
really reasonable for where I am? Maybe it's more like 40 pounds and not 60.
Right. Right.
What about you start your diet or your lifestyle and you see where you are? And then when you like what you see, you figure out that you like what you see. And that's
a great
okay
way.
too.
There you go.
That's a great, as you start losing weight, you get to a point where you feel confident and sexy and proud and strong or whatever you're going for, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, what number is this?
That's it.
That's for me.
That's the one. Got
That's
it.
the one. That's perfect because that means more than the number. And then you're going to stop chasing that. So that
the number
validate
scale,
you.
what do they say? The number on the scale is the least interesting thing about you. Is that what they say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that too. Because it's really true. And it's not going to count. It's not going to tell you how much muscle you have on your body. It's not going to tell you, hey, you know what, Ashley? The last 4 days you went to the gym, you gained this much muscle and those 2 biceps. And yes, it can't. It can't.
It can't do it. It can't do it. So I don't think we could talk about the subject enough. And if you're bored of hearing about it, well, don't listen. No, I'm just kidding. We do. We talk about the scale and how, and the truth is, I struggle with it still sometimes. From time to time, I struggle with it.
Times I struggle with it too.
So when I'm saying this, a lot of times I'm saying it to myself, and I'm saying it
for sure
because I'm just enforcing it. Yes, that hey, we can't do this, y'all. We cannot do this. So
it's not good for us to put so much of our self-worth on a thing.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. Don't do that.
It's just not important.
There's a t-shirt.
Is how you feel.
What's important is how you feel. That's right. There's one of our t-shirts. You had said once, I'll have to go back to the scale episode. You said about plastic and metal. So about we won't find our worth in plastic and metal or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. That'd be cute.
Yeah,
or
your worth is not found in that piece of plastic or metal.
Your worth is not
or the glass or metal. I think glass or metal. I think, yeah. Your worth is not found on that object. It cannot tell you how hard you've worked, really. It really can't.
It really can't. It's
does,
just a tool.
But it doesn't.
Like we said, it's just a tool.
It's just a way to measure. It's one way.
And it can show you what you've progressed. You know what I mean? But it can't tell you what the right number is for you.
Yeah, it's a great way to collect data. But you know what? An even better way is clothes. Buying a size of clothes down and trying them on and being surprised when the scale doesn't match the fact that you can get that in them, because that happens.
Yes. That's why a lot of trainers and things use tape measures for people.
Yeah. That's
if you're lifting weights,
that's a great tool.
They tell you if you're lifting weights, we're going to weigh you, but don't look at that as your.
And the only other great thing that you could do if you really want to know, they do have this body composition, and they really do measure at the gym, or I think your doctor has the scale. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a special scale, and it does measure. It does a body composition, and they actually take pictures of you, and they can actually see. They will tell you exactly how much fat your body actually has on it.
Right.
And it breaks down muscle, skeletal. Those are the only types of images and scale, like whatever that tool is, that can give you a real understanding.
Standing barefoot on the Renpho isn't really giving it to you.
No, if you really want to know, you can get that information, but your scale in your bathroom
is not
giving you that.
Because listen, I had some carbs, which gave me water weight, and then Renpho decided to tell me that my fat percentage went up. I'm like, because my scale was up. So my fat percentage went up. No.
And so when your water weight comes down, then the fat percentage comes down. It's like, that's not how that works.
Does not compute. Like those smart scales are not very smart. So but we're going to wrap it up because we're done.
So if you're listening today and you've either created that number for yourself, or you're trying to figure out what that is, or maybe you're thinking, yeah, I don't know where I got that number and I don't know why I'm chasing that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this can help you at all, because I know for myself that this will always be something that comes up as we stay on our journeys. Weight is a big part of becoming and evolving and all of those things. And it can still be hard even years later. How you feel is so important. It's so much more than the number. And if you don't reach that number, maybe that's just not your number anymore.
Maybe it's not your number. I like that. That's true. That's good.
And that's okay.
And that is okay. So thank y'all for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. You can find and connect with us over on Instagram at More Than Just Keto. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on the fun. We'll see you next time.